pulling it up. Look. See? Meta. We're on. We're going now. People are starting to show up. Aether Draco. So come on over to Twitch. Good morning. Hi. Yay! People are hopping over. Hello. Bell, hi. Simmer Jamie, hi. The Twitch is Madeline Pendleton over there too. Come join us. Soviet Union didn't fail. You're a liar. People lie. Do you guys know that? People just lie about things. They just say it like it's true. It's wild. They just say it, and we're all supposed to agree it's true? You guys just lie about things. Liars. TikTok's full of liars. We would never lie like that over here on Twitch, would we, chat? Buff fork. Good morning, everybody. Oh, you're not home today, Virgo? That's okay. Don't worry. We will not force you to do mod things. Can't believe that about... I know Charles North Korea as well. I knew about that guy, but I didn't make the connection it was him. And then Millennial Chaos was like, that is him, look. And then I looked it up and I was like, it is the same guy. Because I don't have facial recognition. I have face blindness. So I didn't put it together. But it is him. It is literally him. So... You, Madeline Pendleton over on Twitch also, but no underscore, just Madeline Pendleton, all one word. Hello, Malik. Crab Twitch. Hi, everybody. You know what, guys? I love Twitch. I'm so Twitch-pilled. Why is Forkadell called dog? Too stabby to be a dog. Too stabby. A little stabby. Boop, boop. Okay. We're going over there. Hi. We're going over to Twitch. Yeah, get Twitch. If you've never used it before, honestly, I like it. And they recently said that they are trying to become like a hub, basically, for left-wing politics. So they are trying to... I think they've seen a lot of success with Hassan. So they're a little... They're trying to be more lefty. Yeah, Amazon owes them. That's what I was like, you will sell us the rope we used to hang you. Interesting. Okay. People coming over from TikTok. Yay. So, come on over. We're talking about North Korea today, Butters. Come on over. We're talking about North Korea on Twitch. Boop, boop, boop. Hi. How many people do we have in here? 192. Okay, good. All right, we're getting there. Yeah. Come on over. Twitch. We're on Twitch. I'm about to hang up here. Okay. Butters, come join us on Twitch. We'll talk about it. We're moving. I'm about to hang up right now. Come over to Twitch and we'll talk about it. Come. It's Madeline Pendleton on Twitch as well, but no underscore. Just Madeline Pendleton. Come on. Okay, I'm about to... Twitch, you can watch for free. You just have to look at ads if you don't subscribe, but otherwise it's free. It's totally fine. Okay. It's not actually really easy. It involves the telecommunications element of their sanctions. Not super easy. Okay, come on over. Okay, all right. I'm hanging up here. Okay. Okay, hi. It's just us now. The crazies are gone. All right, so I have a microphone for my podcast. Should I try to use it today? Should we try to do it? 227. Nice. Got this. Okay, I'm going to try it because everybody's been roasting me for my sound quality. Fork's getting into trouble. I might have to go get her. Do I need Fork intervention? Uh-oh. Okay, I think I fixed it. How does it sound? Can you hear me? Yeah? Nice? Yes? It's good? Way better? Oh, okay, yay! Okay, yay! Do I need to turn it up or down or anything? Oh, hydrate. Oh, I didn't get water. I have to go get water. Down a smidge. Okay. Yes? Good? Okay, yay. Let me fix it really fast. I'll just put up the screensaver if I go. Hold on just a second. I'm going to fix it on the screen share. So you get this. This is going to be what we talk about. We got some news. but this is the old microphone. So I have to fix this to be the new microphone too. So hold on. Oh no, it's doing it too. It's all doing it. It's already there. Okay. And then I made this layout too for if we want to, all of that. Right? I'm doing things. We're coming around. I'm not going to be on Twitch all day, just 2 hours-ish again, like normal. So, all right, here's what's going to happen. We're going to talk about North Korea today because North Korea is in the news. And I'm going to go get water so I can fulfill all of the hydrates. I'm going to put up the fork screensaver. I'll probably be back in like 2 minutes at the most. Okay, so sit tight. We'll be right back. We're back. Hi. All right. I have water. Okay. So we're going to talk about North Korea today. For a few reasons. How many hydrates did I miss? I think I see 5. Okay. So the reason we're talking about North Korea today is for a few things. First of all, North Korea is in the news, and this is what we do here. We talk about the news. For anybody new here, we look at news stories, and then we talk about the history of them, the context of them. We discuss them and dissect them from a left-wing political perspective. And also because I woke up super early, I unblocked Danny, and I looked at her videos for the first time in a long time, like ever, really. And I was just like for the first time in 5 years anyway. And I was like, this is such pro slop. This is so bad. Hi, comrade. So I was like, well, how do I handle this? Like, first of all, I feel like I could make a TikTok about it, but it would take so long. It'd take like 8 hours. Like, I don't think these people, like, I have a full-time job. I'm not an influencer, you know? So I don't think these people do that. So I think they have time to make videos like this. To make a video in that style would take me like 8 hours today, and I don't have 8 hours. Also, I just feel like the way I do research is not conducive to TikTok. It's not short form research, right? It's not. You can have somebody get on the internet and be like, no, Kim Jong-un fed his uncle to dogs. Dunk. 1 minute. Done. Millions of views. Right. Whatever. I think it's not how we do research here, though. So that's why I thought we would do a Twitch stream about it instead, and we can really go into details. Danny is this person, Danny North Korea, whose entire account is about North Korea, but all of the sources they use are literally U.S. government funded. Like literally all of them. So I thought what we would do is look at the news about North Korea, talk about the history, do some Q&A, and then at the end is a special pro slop treat. We'll look at Danny's videos and talk about them point by point. What do you guys think? There's a lot of triggered men here? Perfect. Yeah, not Aspen, somebody else. Yeah, literally videos about me all the time. Danny and Charles are being tagged nonstop in your comment section, and you both have them blocked. Good. Just keep them blocked. They're disinfo sloppers. They're disinfo sloppers at the end of the day. Okay. Now, so if you're new here, here's how it goes. You can ask questions. And if you ask questions nicely, people will answer them for you. But if you act like you know more about a subject than you do, people will make fun of you and get annoyed with you. Thumbs up. So just be aware of that. TikTok is brain dead. Those people are brain dead, all right? People here have a lot more knowledge about these subjects that you're talking to. So you're not talking to other brain dead sloppers right now, and they're going to get annoyed with you real fast. So if you want to actually learn things, people here will teach you, but you need to accept the fact that If you were saying shit like China has a free market, you don't understand what's going on in the world, and people are not going to have time for you. Okay? So just so you know, if you're new here, all right? This is a place where you can learn and people are nice, but you cannot, your normal Kamala Harris K-Hive stan bullshit here is going to get clocked way faster than other places because we know it's bullshit. So we're more politically literate here than the TikTok crowd, which is okay. We do understand economics. Destroyer 0927. All right. Let's get into North Korea today, chat. Oh wait, we got this in the hype train. This is not a safe space for the propagandists. You can be wrong if you're nice. These are the rules. You can be rude if you're right. You can be wrong if you're nice. You cannot be both rude and wrong. That is just embarrassing. We were all going to get secondhand embarrassment for you. It's going to be weird and it's not going to go well. Okay? So, that's it. All right. So, Destroyer 0927 gets entry-level Pearl Slop treatment. Destroyer 0927, nobody's going to answer you until you read Principles of Communism 1847 and you scroll down to this section and you let us know which of these you think China is not doing. After you've read that, come back to the chat and tell us which point you think they're not doing and then we will talk to you, okay? So I'm going to pull it up for you and I'm going to give a little link and you can read it. This is what you have to read, all right? So, because you don't know what communism and capitalism are, and we all know that. We can all tell that, and you don't know that we can tell that because you're used to talking to other people who don't know what it is either, but we all know, so that's not going to work on us. So, you're going to read this whole thing. You're especially going to get to section 18. What will the course of the revolution be? And this talks to you exactly about what it looks like when a country transitions into socialism. Now, here are all the points you're going to read. Okay, there's 12 of them. The first 10 are probably the most relevant, but that's okay. You're going to read these 12 points, and then you're going to come back, and you're going to let us know. You're going to announce it. You're going to be like, hi, I'm back. I read it. I think China is not doing blah, and you're going to include the point, and then we'll talk to you. Okay? So, that's what you have to do to have this conversation with us, because we don't have time to read this to you right now, but you can read it and then come back and ask us questions about it, and we'll talk to you about the questions that you have, okay? So I'm going to make a tiny URL for that, and I'm going to drop it in the chat. And again, it is section 18, okay? Section 18 is the section you're going to draw from to have this conversation. It's not a long read. You can definitely do it while we're still here. So I'm going to type it here, and we'll pin it, and then you can take a look at it, okay? And that's what it's going to take. I know. That's what it's going to take for you to have this convo with us if you want. Okay. All right. We're leading the horse to water. The horse is going to drink, damn it. Okay, wait. Hamon Pizza. It should be noted that when anti-communist fervor is aroused, the demand for serious evidence in support of claims of communist abuses is suspended and charlatans can thrive as evidential sources. Reminds me of some people. It's very true. Great quote. Okay. Destroyer, everybody's going to ignore you until you read the document. In fact, I'm actually going to put you on a timeout until you read the document. I think I can do that from here. So you have to read the document, I think. Let's see if I can do it. Timeout? Is this a timeout? Warn, mod, timeout. You're on timeout. 10 minutes. Go read the document and then you can come back. Okay? Timeout. All right. So. With that in mind, let's get started looking at the news. We have 2 news stories, one that came out yesterday and one that came out today about North Korea. The first one we're going to look at today is on AP. I know I need to do that no politic here, but I don't know how to do it from OBS. So I've been going in and renaming them afterwards, but I don't really know the right way to do it. Yeah, if we have time, we can talk about Mexicuba, but if not, we'll do it tomorrow. Thanks, chat. Okay, let's go. Oh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The waterboard begins. Okay. I did it. At what point does hydrate become chugging? We're chugging water. It's happening. Okay. So, we've got this new article coming out. North Korea's Kim says upcoming party congress will unveil plans to bolster nuclear deterrent. Now, I want you guys to be aware of something. Whenever we talk about North Korea, we talk about Kim Jong-un, we're talking about Kim Jong-un in the context of military and foreign policy. So this is why it's so easy to perpetuate the idea that he is this dictator in charge of everything, even though we know he is not the head of their executive branch of government. He is in charge basically of their State Department. So the State Department oversees things like the military, like foreign policy, and that's what we're going to hear about when we talk about Kim Jong-un. Now, things that are more executive branch, of course, we all know the current leader of the executive branch of North Korea is Park Dae-sung, right? Their legislative elements, that's all their assembly. Their assembly has different leadership. So what's very, very interesting, though, is the parts of North Korea that are relevant to us here in the West are military and foreign policy, so that's why we're always hearing about Kim Jong-un. Now, so we're talking about this here. North Korea's Kim says upcoming party congress will unveil plans to bolster nuclear deterrent. Right. And there he is with the army in front of green thing, army thing, because that's what he does. That's his job. My job's not army thing. So I don't even know what this is, but his job's army thing. And that's what he does. Right. All right. So the caption here is, in this photo provided by the North Korean government, it's leader Kim Jong-un. They never mentioned North Korea has many leaders. This is just the person in charge of the State Department, right? Subtle propaganda. It's leader Kim Jong-un with his daughter believed to be named Kim Ju-ae. Okay, you don't even know his daughter's name, but you're expecting me to know to believe that you know about how their government functions. Great. Inspects test firing of ballistic missiles from an undisclosed location in North Korea. Independent journalists were not given access to cover the event depicted in this image distributed by the North Korean government. The content of this image is as provided and cannot be independently verified. Korean language watermark on image as provided by source reads KCNA, which is the abbreviation for the Korean Central News Agency. Missile launcher. That seems right. Yeah, that seems right. I trust that. Army thing. Big gun. Big green gun. So, let's get into the story. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un said his country will unveil plans to further bolster its nuclear program at the upcoming ruling party Congress. I want to see what this hyperlinks to. We'll take a look at that. As he observed the North's latest weapons launch, state media reported Wednesday. The Korean Central News Agency said North Korea performed a live fire drill of an upgraded large caliber multiple rocket launcher system in the presence of Kim on Tuesday, an apparent reference to what South Korea and Japan earlier described as ballistic missile launches from North Korea. State media shows Kim walking near a huge launch truck with his teenage daughter in her latest public appearance with her father. South Korea's spy service said in early 2024 it considered the girl, reportedly named Kim Ju-ae, as her father's likely heir. Even the language they use here. Heir. They don't talk about the fact that this is just a family that's active in politics, like the Clinton family or the Bush family or the Kennedy family here in the United States. No. In North Korea, his daughter is going to be the heir, like to a throne. He's not a king. KCNA quoted Kim Jong-un saying the test launch was meant to enhance the effectiveness of the country's strategic deterrent, a term used to describe its nuclear weapons capability. It is a strategic deterrent. They are trying to deter the United States from wiping them off the face of the earth. KCNA said the launcher system's mobility and strike accuracy have been improved. Experts say North Korea's large-sized rocket launchers blur the boundaries between artillery systems and ballistic missiles because they can create their own thrust and are guided during delivery. North Korea has said some of these systems are capable of delivering nuclear warheads. And again, nuclear warheads, the only thing keeping North Korea safe from the United States trying to destroy them. Violet Blossoms, I love how people actually just think that this one person controls everything, as if every state ever worked like that. Even authoritarian regimes like World War II Germany, Italy, the USA in general have a bunch of vile people in them. I wish it was just one crazy dude. Exactly. And this is what we even try to tell people in the United States. They have this inclination towards Donald Trump. They're like, we get rid of Donald Trump and everything will be fine. And everybody else is like, bestie, do you know what the United States was doing before Donald Trump? This is not a one bad man situation in the United States. And obviously, we don't think that Kim Jong-un is a bad man in North Korea. But for people who do believe that, it's the same kind of reductionist facile thinking, right? One bad man is the problem. Get him away. Yeah, she's only a teenager. And the way the media talks about her, they say vile things about this girl. We can Google it and see really fast as well. But they just say, they like talk about her like she's evil. It's absolutely appalling. Let's see. Well, we have some new stuff here that's not as bad, but we've seen things in the past that are basically calling her like an evil heir, like all these things just basically vilifying her, which is pretty wild. So all the usual prop slop suspects here, propaganda slop, HRNK, right? All of those. It's the same old propaganda networks over and over and over again. Kim said that boosting the country's military capability is the invariable line of the ruling Workers' Party. He said the upcoming party congress, the first of its kind in 5 years, they also make it sound like this is rare. They always have party congresses. Every 4 to 5 years is usually when they fall, depending on the timeline on the calendar. This is when everything happens politically for them. It's a regular meeting. They have regular elections. This is the same timeline that their parliamentary elections are on, everything. But they make it say the first of its kind in 5 years, like, oh my God, those poor people have been deprived of democracy for 5 years. Why? That makes no sense. Okay. But that's the language they use to try to make you think these things subtly. So he said the upcoming party congress will be a venue to declare next stage plans for further bolstering up the country's nuclear war deterrent. The congress, expected to start in February, is one of North Korea's biggest propaganda spectacles and is used to establish new political and economic priorities. Anybody who's participated in a Marxist-Leninist party knows you have congresses. They are not propaganda spectacles. It is quite literally the time in a country or an organization that uses democratic centralism when all dissent and all conversations are carried out. So a lot of people are confused about democratic centralism. What democratic centralism says is that there's a time and a place for democracy. We have a structured time when we do arguments, we do counter arguments, we fight with each other about things, we get it all out, and then at the end of that time, we vote. And once we vote, we all support whatever everybody agreed to vote on, even if it's not what you wanted. We come together and we support it until the next time when it's a situated, stated time period where we debate and argue amongst ourselves. So that's what's going on here. The Congress is going to be a time where they all get together and they talk about these issues and they fight with each other. And whatever they come up with at the end of it, that's going to be what everybody supports going forward because it's democracy. So even if you get outvoted, you still support it because that's how democracy works. So that's what democratic centralism is, and you're going to have it prop slop. I call it prol slop or prop slop interchangeably. Prop slop is when it's blatant propaganda, like paid by the U.S. government. Prol slop is just anything we consume that's like intended to dumb us down and dull us down. I do both. So you're not crazy. You've heard me say both, depending on the thing. That's what's going on with their Congress. It's not a propaganda spectacle. And often these places, when we say they enjoy more direct democracy than we can even imagine as Americans, this is what we're talking about. So KCNA didn't say what the next stage nuclear development plan will be like. Many foreign analysts say North Korea needs to master an ability to place multiple warheads on a single missile to defeat its rivals' missile defenses. There were also questions on whether North Korea has acquired the technology to shield warheads from the high temperature, high stress environment of atmospheric re-entry for long-range missiles targeting the U.S. mainland. North Korea has refused to engage in talks with the U.S. and South Korea since Kim's nuclear diplomacy with President Donald Trump collapsed in 2019. Experts say Kim could return to talks if he's assured some economic and political rewards for limited denuclearization steps. Okay, so, you never want to give up your nukes. Everybody knows that. Never give up your nukes. It's the only thing that keeps you kind of even with the United States. First time chat, Artemis XO. If they invited you to North Korea to report on them, would you go? Yes, of course I would go. I'm actually very sad that as an American, my government bars me from being able to travel to North Korea on our passport. So another thing worth noting here, we've got the author of this article, Hyungjim Kim, an AP reporter in Seoul, South Korea. He reports on security, political, and other general news on the Korean Peninsula. Seems like a good time to remind people it is illegal to say anything positive about North Korea in South Korea. It is illegal. Any source you see reporting on North Korea from South Korea, you automatically know is not trustworthy. They are legally prohibited because of the National Security Act of South Korea from saying anything positive about North Korea. So, important to know, you got AP reporting on North Korea with a guy who lives in a country where it's literally illegal for him to accidentally say anything nice. You read the document. Oh, Destroyer's back. Okay. All right. Which one do you think they're not doing? We'll take a little break. Which of the points do you think they're not doing? We'll pull it up. Oh, we went too far. Section 18. I'm in the wrong one. Sorry. We were in the wrong one, I think. Let's see. There we go. All right, we're here. Which one do you think? 4. You think 4. Organization of labor or employment of proletarians on publicly owned lands and factories and workshops, with competition among the workers being abolished, and with the factory owners, insofar as they still exist, being obliged to pay the same high wages as those paid by the state. So you're saying that North Korea does not have publicly owned companies. That's what you're saying? I'm glad he did his homework. Oh, almost 300, yay. China, sorry, we were talking about North Korea, you're right. I misspoke. China. Yeah, China. He's talking about China. So you're saying China does not have publicly owned companies. Is that the argument? Thank you, Farmer Dio. I just want to make sure I understand this. China has labor competition, wage gaps, and private employers. Well, Section 4 says that. Right? It literally says factory owners, insofar as they still exist, have to pay high wages, the same wages paid by the state. They do that. This doesn't say, that's literally what it says. This is about private employers setting pay. They just say they have to pay like a minimum wage on par with what the state-owned enterprises pay. Which they do. So what do you mean? Competition has not been abolished. No, with competition among the workers being abolished? What do you mean by that? That competition hasn't been abolished? And this is in the state-owned enterprises. This means that the workers are working in publicly owned companies and that the workers are not competing, right, to become like owners, basically. Competitive wages? They have competitive wages. Yeah, maybe he's talking about competitive wages. That's true. Competition among workers. What's an example of competition among workers to you? What are you interpreting that to mean? Different wages and job opportunities. So you're saying that competition is different wages and job opportunities? I don't think that that's the definition of competition you made up, right? What does that mean? This just basically means that if you're working in a state-owned enterprise, you're not being put against your fellow worker. You're not being forced to fight each other. That's all that means. Right? Yeah, you have the floor. Yeah, talk. No, they're not letting me. We are. Yeah, go for it. Talk. You can type a lot here. There's not like huge character limits or anything. What do you mean? Yeah. What does that mean? Okay, type something up. We're going to go back to North Korea. Take your time to organize that thought. And then come back to us, okay? Yeah, maybe the chat's moving too fast. Okay, all right. We'll revisit our troll. You know I love a troll break. You guys know I got a soft spot for trolls. Okay, so back to what we were talking about here with North Korea, though. So this whole situation, having even this reporter be in South Korea, is a major conflict of interest, basically. So we can look at this here at the South Korea National Security Act, and we can see this. And it's true. We can see multiple articles about this. In South Korea, praising the North is illegal. That is correct. This person, Kim Seung-kyu, endured 8 marathon interrogation sessions with chain-smoking investigators after 7 police officers carted off his books and computer disks because he allegedly glorified North Korea. And this is a kind of thing that happens all the time. And what they interpret as glorifying North Korea can be very, very simple. It can be very, very minor. So South Korean Prosecutor General Han Sang-dae defended tough measures against those who praise the North, calling it a national misfortune if there are still people who have yet to abandon illusions about North Korea. He vowed in a speech in August to declare war on North Korean sympathizers. They must be punished and removed. This is an older article, by the way. This is from 2011. So this is just the first one that popped up. So they will not let you say nice things about North Korea. And they will tell you we are still at war against North Korea in the South. Now, there is a man who was imprisoned for writing a poem. I always show people this. South Korean man imprisoned for poem. Okay, we'll go to BBC. This is Prol Slop, not Prop Slop. Maybe Prop Slop. This is Prol Slop, I think. We'll have to figure it out each way. Okay. So, a South Korean court has sentenced a 68-year-old man to 14 months in jail for praising the North in the poem. And this is from November of 2023. This is more recent. Lee Yoon-sop advocated for unification in his piece that was published in the North State media in 2016, South Korean media reported. He wrote that if the two Koreas were united under Pyongyang's socialist system, people would get free housing, healthcare, and education. He was then convicted under a law that prohibits public praise of North Korea. All he did was say that, hey, in North Korea, they get free housing, healthcare, and education. That's cool. We should reunify. And a lot of people want reunification still in the North and South. They're not allowed to say that in the South anymore, though. So, in the piece titled Means of Unification, Lee also argued that in a united Korea, fewer people would take their own lives or live in debt. For those of you who do not know this, South Korea has the third highest suicide rate on the planet. A lot of people in South Korea commit suicide. 303! Yay, Starcito. Thanks for the sharing, the update. So, literally, third highest suicide rates. When we watch things like Parasite, Squid Games, right? Those are pieces of media that are critiquing South Korean capitalism. South Korean capitalism is particularly brutal. People do not enjoy it very much. There's actually a scene in Squid Game where one of the characters is talking to somebody from the North and asks them outright, was it better in the North? And the character doesn't say anything. And that, if you know about this law, is very poignant because they are not allowed to say yes. It is illegal in South Korea for them to say yes, the North was better. So they say nothing. And that we are supposed to believe is them saying yes, it was better. And that's a very powerful part of that show that you will only understand if you understand it's illegal to say anything good about the North and the South. Oh, Destroyer's back. Did we get our paragraph? Okay, let's see. Okay. The proposal call for the organization of labor by the state. Did you ChatGPT this? The abolition of competition among workers and the standardization of high wages with even remaining private factory owners required to match state pay. The purpose of this measure is to eliminate exploitation, wage inequality, and unemployment by removing market forces from labor and treating work as a collective social duty. Yes. Modern China, however, does not follow. So you ChatGPT this. Shame. It is a labor market that's highly competitive. Wages vary widely by region and industry. Most workers are employed by private firms that set pay according to supply and demand rather than state mandate. Okay. This guy ChatGPT this. You don't support the use of AI. You didn't write this. It sounds like it's an answer to a question. But that's okay. That's fine. So, what we're looking at here is actually a really outdated understanding of how things work in China. But also on top of that, the transition is part of the process, as that situation explains. They explain they're state-owned enterprises, but there's also going to be private industry that still exists, right? Calls for the organization of labor by the state. They have that. They have some state labor. They also still have private labor, just like it says in Section 4 that they would have. It says that in Section 4, that there's still going to be private companies. There's going to be public companies as well competing with them. The abolition of competition among the workers has to do with the standardization of high wages. They have that. They introduced in the labor the Labor Code overhaul of 2008, they introduced massive measures to standardize pay. Now, part of standardizing pay, you guys don't understand this, a lot of people, and it's okay, is actually setting up different pay rates for different regions of the country. Why? Because the living expenses vary so dramatically from place to place. So a place with higher living expenses, you're going to need higher pay than a place with lower living expenses. So saying, for example, that different regions have different minimum wages, That's actually an argument in support of the idea of standardizing pay and reducing competition. This means that if you have to work somewhere that's a metropolitan area with a high cost of living, you are not going to be stuck earning the same low pay amount as somebody who lives in a place with a lower cost of living, right? Because these things have not been fully absorbed by the state yet, and the state of socialism, as Stage 4 said, both still exist, private and public. So the implementation of different minimum wages for different regions is an effort to actually provide that equity, not remove that equity, right? So I live in LA. The amount of money it costs to live in LA, and I have to live in LA for my job. My job is in fashion, apparel. There are very few places in the United States that have an apparel industry market or hub, right? So I have to live in one of them, and they're high cost of living places. Obviously, it would be cheaper for me to live in rural Kentucky, but I could not do my job in rural Kentucky. Therefore, there needs to be some sort of different pay structure, a different minimum wage for urban areas like mine where I have to be to do my job so that I am actually still able to afford to live, right? I cannot live off $7 an hour in Los Angeles. People in Kentucky can barely live off $7 an hour, right? But that's the federal minimum wage there. But just as an example, so my city sets a higher minimum wage, I believe it's $16 to $18 an hour or something like that right now. And there's a reason for that. So that actually is an equalizing attempt. That's not increasing competition, that's minimizing competition. And China does that as well. And there are different minimum pay grades for different places in China. That is the response to that. So their labor market being highly competitive. Their unemployment rates aren't significantly higher than anything else. The only thing we've ever seen reported on China as being like an issue with unemployment is youth unemployment, but it's literally the West trying to misrepresent the fact that in China it is not very common for college students and high school students to have jobs, which is actually a good thing. Wages vary widely by region. We already talked about that. By industry. Not that widely, actually. They are significantly minimizing the pay gap. They raised 800 million people out of poverty, right? And then also, in the past 5 years alone, a third of their billionaires have lost billionaire status. So they are actually equalizing those things out right now. Most workers are employed by private firms. The majority of companies, like 60% of industry in China at the moment, has public ownership of some kind. So that's outdated information as well. So that's something that's been really happening in the past few years. So private firms, there's very, very few fully private firms in China anymore. There are some that still exist, certainly. But to say most workers are employed by private firms, no. Statistically, I think it's over 60% currently of the industry there, has state ownership. So most workers actually are working in a capacity that has some sort of state ownership. So that is incorrect. So it could be that you just don't have up-to-date info. It could be that you asked ChatGPT and ChatGPT gave you some bullshit. But that is my response to that. What do I recommend as a good place, like, to live in California? I love California. I like it everywhere. I live in LA. I love LA. Everywhere has massive issues with gentrification and high cost of living. I will say that places that have the high cost of living usually also have high wages. So I would say San Francisco, for example. San Francisco has very, very high minimum wage. It's very expensive to live in San Francisco, but they actually are one of the few cities in the United States that has a really good program for low-income home buyers. So you can buy an apartment for pretty cheap in San Francisco. I didn't know that was an option when I lived there. If I had, I probably would have done it. New York is similar. New York and San Francisco, if you're familiar with New York, it's similar in San Francisco. If your wages are below a certain threshold, which is usually like $160K a year, pretty easy to fall below that threshold, there are special opportunities for you to purchase houses at lower prices, and that, I think, offsets it and makes it easier. All right, let's get back into North Korea. Thank you for the little troll stop moment. I love it. I love it. So fun. Let's jump back to North Korea now. We got the ADHD going on. We're bouncing from topic to topic. Back over here, important to remember. So this elderly man, this 68-year-old man, got sentenced to 14 months in jail for praising the North in a poem. And we're expected to believe that an AP reporter based in South Korea could tell us the truth about what's going on in North Korea. So this is how this kind of stuff works, right? Right when I see this, I'm like, well, how much could this guy tell us? What could he say? Could he critique the role of South Korea and the United States in destabilizing the North? Could he talk about the need to have this defense program because the United States, for example, is showing up on their beaches and slaughtering people who are fishing in the morning when our Navy SEAL team expeditions go wrong? Which is, literally something that just happened for those of you who didn't see that. For anybody who didn't see, U.S. Navy SEALs killed North Korean civilians during botched mission, according to this report. This report just came out September 6, 2025, 6 months ago, but it's based on leaked information. It happened in 2019. So this is what's going on. And the people in the South are not allowed to say, well, why? Why would North Korea potentially need a green big gun go? Big green gun on truck. Why would they need this? Why? Why do they need this? I don't know, because we're killing them still to this day. And South Korea and the United States are constantly threatening them. Do you guys remember when South Korea recently tried to declare martial law, and then the guy had to get impeached? The way he tried to declare martial law was he was intentionally trying to provoke North Korea into an attack against them. What do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4. So, he was literally trying to get them to go fight with him, right? Like, that's what they were trying to do. Very, very, very wild. And so this idea that it's never even mentioned why they need this. It's never even mentioned they're still at war. They're at war with the United States. We're at war with them. They do mention that South Korea says they're still at war, which is... No, they didn't even mention that in this one. They mentioned that when we were talking about the propaganda. They don't mention South Korea says we're still at war with the North. They don't mention the United States and North Korea are still technically at war. They don't do that. So, posture check. I'm trying. And yes, we are all doing the strike on Friday, right? We're all striking on Friday. I guess that means I won't do any Twitch streaming on Friday either, in solidarity with the strike. It's a libertarian. They're always libertarians. The thing I like about libertarians, though, is if you're ever drunk at a house party, these are the guys who will talk to you about politics. Nobody else. It's always a libertarian guy, and they're all dumb as hell. You're all just ding-dong up there. But they'll talk to you because they think that you might make out afterwards. Emote only chat. The Walmart drug lord, emote only chat. I think do it, emote only chat. All right, so getting back in to the other news we have that came out today. Oh, no, this isn't for today. This is 2019. Sorry, February 28th, 2019. I was like, today. No, February. Wrong one. This is the wrong one. My bad. So we'll get to that one in a second. This was from this last thing. Trump, Kim, and end summit with standoff over easing of U.S. sanctions. This is what they talked about in the last thing, where North Korea is less interested in negotiating with us now, basically, because things fell apart when we were talking about nuclear negotiations before. This is the article about that. I forgot we opened that. So, emote only. Only buff forks in the chat now. So, talks between President Donald Trump and North Korea's Kim Jong-un collapsed Thursday after the two sides failed to bridge a standoff over U.S. sanctions. And everyone's always like, it's not the sanctions, it's the sanctions. A dispiriting end to high-stakes meetings meant to disarm a global nuclear threat. Who, the United States? It's not the United States they're trying to disarm, right? Let's see who's got the most nuclear weapons. Where do we have a little listy? Here we go. The United States, Russia's got some nukes. The United States has 5,277 nuclear weapons. North Korea has 50. Why is the United States with 5,277 nuclear warheads is trying to say that the global nuclear threat is North Korea with 50? Like, we quite literally have 100 times more. Like, this is wild. Destroyer, we like guns. We're pro-gun here. So this is absolutely wild. So this is when the nuclear talks fell apart, right? And of course it has to do with sanctions. So, this is very, very sad. So this is a callback to that. We also have this article from December 9th of 2025 that's talking about the upcoming Congress that I wanted to take a second about, because this really has to do with their democracy. People are always like, there's no democracy. This is what it is. So here we go. We got Hyunjin Kim, also from South Korea, so we know we're going to get that biased perspective. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and other top officials have gathered to discuss preparations for the ruling party's first full Congress in 5 years, state media reported Wednesday. The top-level meeting will set new priorities as the U.S. and South Korea seek a resumption of talks with North Korea. The Korean Central News Agency reported that Kim presided over a plenary meeting of the Workers' Party Central Committee on Tuesday. It said participants began discussing unspecified key issues related to the party Congress and reviewing this year's state policies. And again, this is the party Congress. So this isn't the government Congress. This is the party. This is the Workers' Party. So just like the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, this is the Workers' Party there. And people say, why is it the biggest party? Like, they have so much power. It's because in North Korea, you're allowed to be a member of multiple different political parties. I'll show you guys a source on that really fast. So because of that, people are usually in more than one, but most people have jobs. So almost everybody's in the Workers' Party, which I think is interesting that most Americans don't understand or know. So I'm going to show this. This is a CIA document, actually, talking about this. And the key takeaway here is membership in any one organization mentioned in this report does not exclude the individual from membership in any other organ. Africa, blah, blah, blah. So the average young man in North Korea is usually a member of one of the ascribed political parties, as well as this other party and one of 32 workers' leagues. So people are parts of different organizations here. So this is just for the Worker Party, and this is what they have going on. The Congress, the top decision-making organ of the Workers' Party, the party, not the government, was revived by Kim in 2016 after a 36-year hiatus. So he actually brought in more democracy to the party system, Kim Jong-un, that had previously not been there for 36 years. Experts say Kim aimed to increase the party's authority as parts of efforts to solidify his grip on power. He's literally creating a Congress to do more democracy in the party. And they're like, he's secretly doing it to steal power somehow. It's absolutely ridiculous. So, in an apparent response to Trump's repeated outreach, Kim suggested in September that he could return to talks if the U.S. drops its delusional obsession with denuclearization of North Korea. And this is why people like him. He tells it like it is, It is ridiculous. It's just like, I'm sorry, again, you have 5,277 nuclear weapons. You are at war with North Korea. You are sending Navy SEALs to murder fishermen on the banks. And this little country has 50, and you're like, you got to get rid of them. I'm sorry. If I'm looking at a country who's telling me they want me dead, and they have 5,277 nuclear warheads pointed at me, there's no fucking way I'm giving up my 50. Like, that is delusional. That is delusional. And Kim Jong-un is correct to say the United States has a delusional obsession with denuclearization, because the United States isn't obsessed with denuclearizing itself. They're just obsessed with denuclearizing their enemies. I wonder why. So they can pull a Venezuela. Oh, Chad has a question. What's up? So am I pro-gun? Yes. I grew up firing guns. I agree with all the Marxists in the chat. We, as an ideology, we believe that if the government is armed, the people need to be armed. I believe this. This is my politics, actually. Rob23091, this is my politics. Take away the big green truck guns from the government and give them to the undocumented immigrants. That is literally my politics, unironically. Yes. MJ Travis, what was the beef about many North Korean people dying of starvation back in the day? So they actually had natural disasters. They had back-to-back natural disasters, floods that affected their dominant farming land. And it wasn't the whole country. It was just certain areas. And many people have their own subsistence farms anyway in North Korea. They have little plots of land with houses and farms if they don't live in the city centers. But certain areas of North Korea were hit very, very hard by this flooding. It wiped out their productive farmland. And they have been under sanctions. As Kim talked about, sanctions are the biggest issue to them. The United States has put a blockade against the North Korean people. And they actually begged during this time for the U.S. government to lift the embargo, lift the blockade, so they could trade with other countries to bring in food, to import food, because they were not able to produce enough food because of the natural disasters to feed their people. And the United States said no. We said we were not going to do that. And some American officials, including Joe Biden randomly, petitioned to do a big aid drop to just give them food. But obviously it's not something they could control. It wasn't enough food for their people. It was like, here, take this instead, kind of a slap in the face. Still other members of the U.S. Congress were like, we should just let them starve to death. We're trying to kill them anyway. like problem solves itself. So very, very, very inhumane thing we did to the North Korean people, and many of them did starve to death. That period is referred to as the Arduous March in the mid to late 90s. It's very, very sad. And when you meet most North Korean defectors, the ones who aren't being paid to tell you ridiculous stories, they will be talking about the Arduous March, and they'll say, my family had to leave. I had to leave during the Arduous March because people were starving to death. And that is real. It was caused by a natural disaster. It was exacerbated by the United States government. So even if you are not going to learn anything about North Korea or defend North Korea and their revolution alongside us, you should still be calling for the United States to end the blockade, lift the sanctions against every single country on the planet, including North Korea especially. He's talking about guns. Is he boring? He's getting kind of boring. He's talking about guns. Okay. He got boring. We could never have a good troll. Man. How do I... Let me see. I'm going to ban him. Sorry, everybody. Should I ban him? Should I do it? What do you guys think? Muzzle him again? Okay, we'll muzzle him again. He's only talking about guns. I have a higher troll tolerance than the chat does. So sometimes we have to employ democracy. And the chat gets annoyed because you guys have to deal with them. I'm reading, I'm talking to you. So, okay. All right, we're muting again. Let's get back to this. Oh, he didn't answer the question about the age of consent laws. Yikesy. Okay, strike 3 is the ban. I like that. Ghost in the Cell. Yeah. Dictatorship in the chat. Okay. So, we got the South Korea again telling us all about the Workers' Party Congress. Now, this gets us to today's story. North Korea fires missiles into sea amid talks on U.S. military role. And we have a 43-second video. It's pretty short, so let's watch it, I think. Mm-hmm. Like California. Just like California, you're doing 3 strikes, you're out. You steal a pack of gum, I'm sorry, it's a death sentence. That's how the chat's working. All right. I'm going to pull up the audio portion of this, which means I'm going to mute myself for a moment.
North Korea's nuclear and missile development, including the recent ballistic missile launch, constitutes a threat to the peace and security of our country and of the international community, and is absolutely unacceptable. We furthermore recognize that such launches of ballistic missiles violate relevant United Nations Security Council resolutions and represent a grave issue affecting the safety of the public. The government will continue to make all efforts to gather, analyze, and monitor the necessary information. Working together with the United States and South Korea, we will continue efforts towards the full implementation of the relevant United Nations Security Council resolutions and demand the total abandonment of North Korea's nuclear ballistic missile program.
Okay, so again, this delusional idea that North Korea is supposed to give up its one defense system against all of the enemy countries who are trying to wipe it off the face of the earth, right? We all know South Korea operates basically as a neo-colony vassal state of the United States, right? So, Israel first. Why does Israel get nukes and North Korea can't have nukes? What's going on with this? Yes, all of this is because they launched some practice missiles. So North Korea fired multiple ballistic missiles towards the sea on Tuesday that were likely short-range projectiles, South Korea and Japan said. We love what South Korea and Japan says. Always coming in with the bangers. South Korea and Japan. As Washington and Seoul hold talks on transforming their defense posture against Pyongyang. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said the missiles were launched from an area near the North's capital, Pyongyang, at around 3:50 p.m. local time towards the sea off its east coast. It said the missiles flew about 350 kilometers or 217 miles. Japan's Coast Guard separately said it detected what could be ballistic missiles launched by North Korea that dropped a few minutes later. Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi said the missiles would have no impact on Japan. The missiles reached a maximum altitude of 80 kilometers, according to Japan. Sushito, yes, if Israel can have a nuke, so should the DPRK in Iran. This is just wild. South Korea's Office of National Security urged North Korea to immediately halt ballistic missile launches, condemning them as provocative activities and violations of the UN Security Council resolutions. Again, though, I just want you guys... Hold on. This news story is from like a month ago, okay, ex-South Korean President Yoon tried to provoke Pyongyang into armed aggression. So they're over here playing the victim, saying, why would they want nuclear weapons? Oh my God, that's so scary. I'm sorry. Your president tried to literally get them to go to war with him. This is the backstory for this. Former South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol tried to provoke North Korea into mounting an armed aggression to justify his December 2024 martial law declaration and eliminate political opponents, a special prosecutor said on Monday. Okay, so literally, they have been provoking the North into going, oh, sorry, Jesus, I hate that. Here we go. Yeah, okay. Sorry, thank you. This is what's going on. This is what's going on here. Ex-South Korean President Yoon tried to provoke Pyongyang into armed aggression. Right? So we're wondering why on earth North Korea might want nuclear weapons. We've got South Korea being like, oh my God, that's so scary. Why are they doing that to us? I don't know. Maybe because you're constantly trying to start shit with them? Like, what? Don't start shit you can't finish, I guess. Like, what? This makes no sense to me at all. Absolutely ridiculous. So we very clearly know why they're doing this, right? So Japan said, this threatens the peace and security of our country. Never mind the fact that Japan, brutally occupied the entire Korean peninsula for decades and enslaved and tortured people in Korea, including in North Korea. Like, real rich coming from Japan at this point. This article goes on and says North Korea has in recent months launched short-range missiles and multiple launch rockets, and said they were being developed as part of a key part of its tactical nuclear arsenal to protect itself from threats of the U.S. and South Korea. That is true. Interest has grown in North Korea's short-range ballistic missiles and artillery after Pyongyang supplied them to Russia for use in the war against Ukraine under a mutual defense pact it signed with Moscow in 2024. People ask about this shit. They're like, well, why is North Korea helping Russia? And I'm always like, I don't even want to know what you think is going on in Russia, but whatever you think is going on in Russia, you're probably wrong. And second of all, they have a pact they signed in 2024. That's part of the agreement. That's what they got to do. That's how pacts work. But also, these people don't even really understand what's going on there. They don't understand that this is a proxy war with the United States. They don't understand that the United States helped replace the entire Ukrainian government with a bunch of weird fucking Nazis. Like, they don't understand that that's what happened. So, Buckfast Supernova, mentioning free beer to people does work weirdly well. It does. When you tell people, like, North Korea's cool. They got free houses. They got free healthcare. They give people free beer. People are like, really? Huh. They like it. Very, very interesting. Japan believes they are an anime hero. Oh. Also, when people talk about the censorship and certain media you're not allowed to bring into North Korea, I always tell them, yeah, certain animes are illegal. You know why? Because those Japanese animes are like, the Koreans are subhuman species that benefited greatly under Japanese colonial rule. They should be grateful for what we did to them. Like, it's deranged, this type of media. And you're like, you want this to go into your fucking country? Are you kidding? That's crazy. That's like forcing indigenous Americans to consume propaganda slop that's like, you deserved everything we did to you. Like, that is psychotic, right? So, very, very weird. Yeah, that's what's going on there. Okay. So we have this article pulled up about South Korea, obviously, imprisoning a man for 14 months for praising the North in a poem. So all of this brings me to the resource document, which we have on North Korea, which we've looked over. And we have two different ways we can kind of go with the stream from here. We could do a Danny viewing party and we could take a look so we understand the type of slop disinfo content that does get produced about North Korea, and we can talk about it and we can go point by point and compare it to the resources we have that we know to discuss it. If you guys want, let's look at this. Kubashi, while we talk. Giving South Koreans access to North Korean media. South Korea is no longer a fragile democracy struggling for survival. It stands as the world's 10th largest economy, a global cultural powerhouse fueled by the soft power of K-culture, and a nation whose democratic institutions have proven remarkably resilient through successive political upheavals. Yet the recent domestic furor over easing restrictions on the South Korean public's access to North Korean media suggests that the conservative camp remains psychologically anchored in the Cold War mindset. Yes. People don't talk about this either, but in South Korea, they have massive internet restrictions. They have massive media restrictions against the North as well. So this is very, very, very true. You would hate to watch a Danny video, actually. You know, right? So yeah, nobody talks about this. In South Korea, they are highly censored against North Korean media. Caudy Benos. I don't know who that is, Bell Bell. Should I look this person up? I'm so bad at names. Oh, Spanish political activist. Okay. He is a special representative of the Foreign Ministry of North Korea. Oh, is this Charles North Korea op? This has to be, right? Very interesting. Of noble descent. Okay. He's believed to be the only person, the only Westerner ever employed by the North Korean government. He's a Spanish aristocrat born to a family of landed gentry in northeast Spain. He says, I consider myself as much Spanish as Korean, 50-50. North Korea is my country of adoption. Interesting. He held the special title of Special Delegate for North Korea's Committee for Cultural Relations with Foreign Countries. Interesting. Unpaid gig. And he earns money as an IT consultant. Imagine your IT consultant in Palo Alto is just like, yeah, I'm the only person ever employed by the North Korean government. Spanish aristocrat. Yeah. Class traitor. I think this is a class traitor. Conspiracy theory is Danny's actually me. Just a pair of floating eyes. I have to earn money from Plopsop. The wild thing is Danny's videos get like 60,000 likes. Mine get like 3,000. It's crazy. People love that shit. Oh, Destroyer's back in the chat. The timed out. We are opposed to imperialism, but we are skeptical. I can tell you the whole chat is skeptical of your understanding of what imperialism means. So, I guess what we could do is we could go, this article is very, very interesting. It's a little bit long. Let's finish this up really fast. We'll just skip through a bit. So basically there's decades-old bans on North Korean broadcasts and publications. The fundamental assumption underlying these criticisms is the exposure to North Korean narratives could somehow destabilize South Korean society. I mean, yeah, I think so. That's what they fear. And that's what North Korea fears as well. They both fear it from each other, but they also want to unify. A lot of the older people still want to unify. Younger people, not so much. But, well, gay Marxist, welcome, first time chat. So very, very fascinating. So people are conflicted on this, on whether or not South Korea should allow info from Pyongyang in. All right. So here's kind of what I think we should do. I think what we should do is we can go through my resource document for anybody who hasn't done it before. We won't go into a lot of detail, but we'll go over it quickly. This is something available in my link tree. And then we'll take a look at some of Danny's content and we'll talk about how it plays off of this, what we know. So I think that's what we'll do. Ban, yes or no? What do you guys think? I don't know how to do a poll. Poll. It's supposed to set up a... It's supposed to set up a thing when I do it, but I can't. Open a setup menu. I can't do it from where I am. Because I have this like weird fake version of our chat pulled up in OPS. So you're just going to have to tell me, guys. Unless Car's in the chat. If Car's in the chat, they can do a poll. But I don't know if Car's here today. Virgo's in wedding land. Love. Do we ban this person? Yay or nay? They seem kind of quiet right now. Yes. Yay. Yes. If Destroyer wants to stay on topic of North Korea, then you can stay. Okay. So, ban the lad. Oh, current poll, ban. Here we go. Ban. Poll. Thank you. If it was Car or Virgo. Well, it's not looking good for Destroyer. Might be shifting. Oh, it's a close one. It's close. It's 25 to... Oh, no. Okay. This is fun. Let me speak. I know. This is the closest poll we've had in a long time. Okay, we're going to let it go. All right, we'll do this. We'll do Danny's document. Let's start with Danny's document, actually. Instead of mine, let's start with Danny's. That means we have to go to TikTok. Danny's TikTok. What the fuck is Danny's TikTok? I put it in a note. North Korea Pearl Slop. That's what I titled this. Okay. Danny debunk. This is me. I look cute. On Danny's page. Tankies get blocked. The funny thing is that I realized, like, because I don't do debunk content like that, I talk about things more generally. People really like the debunk content, though. And I just, like, don't, like I said, I just don't have time for this. Stop the count. The election is, oh my God. 50-50? That's an even split, you guys. Yeah, Danny has a document, and it's infuriating. Yes. Mm-hmm. This is Danny's resource document. So... this is, FBI wanted, Bell. Conspiracy to violate the international, I don't know, I kind of fuck with this guy heavy. Like, what? I don't know, he seems cool. It's a 50-50 vote. I have to break the tie. I'm going to put him on another 10-minute timeout, and then we're going to decide, okay? This is going to be timeout again. I can't make this decision right now. Okay. So, I feel like the more I learn about this guy, the more I love him. Like, look at this. Wanted by the FBI. What's not to love? Download poster. Oh, he's part of the Korean Friendship. He's the founder of the Korean Friendship Association. Okay. Yeah. I love the Korean Friendship Association. I have some publications from the British branch of the Korean Friendship Association in my house right now. It's great. Perma-mute him so he can still learn without rage baiting us. Oh, I didn't know I could do that. I'm going to try to do that when the thing expires. I have a bunch. My partner for Christmas got me some of these North Korean magazines, basically, from the Korean Friendship Association. So cool. Yes, I have a dog. Yes, her name is Fork. You'll see everybody talk about her a lot. Very, very cool. Okay, rad. All right, so here we go. We're going to get into infamous Pearl Slopper Danny North Korea's resource document. Fair warning, it's disturbing. Fork strong. We stand Fork strong. Okay. So the first site that Danny recommends is NK News, which, if you know anything, is alarming for a number of reasons. We're closing down Alejandro Caldebenos, our friend. So we're going to compare Danny's to mine. NK News was founded as a memorial to the Marshall Plan. This is NK News. This is what it looks like. And NK News will be the source of a lot of slop content you guys consume or have consumed in the past about North Korea. This is wild. So NK News, so in this network of anti-North Korean slop content, they all have different roles. NK News is the one that tries to take itself a little seriously sometimes. So these are the ones that are like, not everything you hear about North Korea is correct. Some things are wrong, to try to like give legitimacy to these situations. And that shift really started happening after a guy named Andrei Lenkov became the director. So he was not always the director. He used to be an academic. And once he became the director, they started to have a little bit more journalistic integrity, but a job's a job, I guess, at the end of the day. This guy sold out hard, and he says some weird ass shit about North Korea too. But yeah, so they're publishing stories like this. They are just publishing this kind of slop all the time, but they also have content like this where they're like, we're busting myths, not everything you hear is true. Of course you gotta pay for it. We're not gonna pay for this bullshit. Okay, but the important things to know about NK News, the number one source on Danny's list here, right? NK News was founded as a memorial to the Marshall Plan, which was a grant from the West German government that was provided via U.S. government funding. It is owned by an American company called NK Consulting. NK Consulting is its parent company. Sorry, they have this stupid AI summary here, but NK Consulting, operating under the trade name NK News, is a for-profit corporate entity specializing in providing information about North Korea. This is accurate. This is NK Consulting on GovTribe. Look at its funding, guys. Look who's funding Danny's first list. Department of Defense, DOD, Department of Treasury, Department of State, Department of the Navy, DOD, and the Smithsonian. So Danny's first thing right here, first one, that is funded largely by the Department of Defense Department. And this is what we mean when we say this is ProSlop, this is a network of disinformation funded by the U.S. government, right? So that's what's up. All right, 38 North is the next one. Also a fucking joke to include this. Just absolutely wild. Just shows you have no integrity whatsoever when you include these. 38 North is a project of the Stimson Center. Here is the Stimson Center. They say here 38 North is their program to cultivate informed public policy debate about North Korea. The Stimson Center is funded by who? Lockheed Martin, first of all. Just that one popped out. South Korea. Shocking to nobody, I guess, right? And the State Department. Yet again, the State Department. Look at that. One of the biggest contributors is the U.S. Department of Nuclear Security Administration and the U.S. State Department. These are some of the biggest. Oh, and the Department of Defense, yet again. Some of the biggest contributors here to Stimson Center funding, who created 38 North. So that, if we look over at Danny's list, that's the number 2 thing on here. Great. Love that. Excellent. Next up, we have Rim Jin Gang. Now, Susie Kim actually wrote about Rim Jin Gang. And somebody recommended I read this, and I finally did. So this is Susie Kim. This is Professor Susie Kim, who studies North Korean history and is a professor of history at Rutgers. We love Susie Kim. And she's actually written about this group and basically been like, this is not a reliable thing. So back in 2008, she says, a small but significant piece of news circulated in South Korea about a magazine secretly published by North Korean journalists, as one headline read. This was hardly covered in the Western media, but it seems the news has finally reached across the Pacific with the publication of the magazine's first English edition in October 2010. So she kind of talks about this, and she says, this guy has years of experience on reporting on North Korea. He launched Rim Jin Gang in 2007, published twice a year in South Korea and Japan. It's edited in Seoul. It's edited in South Korea. So again, remember, it can't say anything positive about the North. Then it's translated into Japanese and from Japanese into English. It's supposed to publish reports about everyday life in North Korea with the help of a dozen underground North Korean informants. I actually should probably add, while we do this, to our resource document about Rim Jin Gang. So let's do this. Sometimes it's spelled with 2 N's and sometimes it's spelled with 1. Rim Jin Gang. We're gonna we'll give it more oomph than there's this descriptor, but this is for us to come back to later. Oh my god, no way. So basically they're saying these people are North Korean journalists. Susie Kim says, I have opted to use the term informant instead, given serious misgivings about whether these people can be called journalists. This is a central issue as explained in the body of this essay. The magazine is important to evaluate for several reasons. Not only does it claim to be the first magazine about North Korea written by North Koreans, but it also is touted as the first publication to create a channel for two-way communication between the divided Korean people, as exemplified by the title Rim Jin Gang, the name of the river that flows across the demilitarized zone dividing the North and the South. The article is an attempt to engage in critical conversation about how we know what we know about North Korea, reflecting upon the historical and structural conditions that configure the way North Korea is known and understood by those outside North Korea. A look at the epistemology of North Korea is, of course, not the same as looking at North Korea itself, and some may be tempted to dismiss such an essay as entirely pedantic or worse, irrelevant to the task of finding out what is really happening in North Korea, particularly in a dire situation when so many are thought to be suffering under famine conditions and totalitarian rule. Yet, without a viable framework for understanding the unfamiliar, things may not be what they seem. To assess a project such as Rim Jin Gang, self-identified as journalism, it is doubly imperative to interrogate the sources of information and knowledge. Based on attendance at the NYU event and a reading of the English edition of Rim Jin Gang, this article interrogates these kinds of issues that arise in reporting on a country as closed as North Korea in an environment in which tensions associated with the U.S.-Korean War and the legacies of the Cold War continue to shape conditions in North Korea while failing to inform those reporting on it. I love, yeah, this is from the Discord. Did Virgo post this? Cool. I'm so sorry about my typing. So, This kind of goes on to talk about the market system that emerged in North Korea and how it was framed completely wrong and inaccurately by this guy, Ishimaru Jiro. This is like pretty interesting as a read. It is in our Discord, apparently, so that's cool. I never go to the Discord, but I should. I'm afraid of Discord. And this is Fork determines what happens. That's correct in Mad Scene. That dog is outside of my control. She does what she wants. Luckily, usually she wants to do things with me. This Danny poll, I'm voting. There were other examples of differing opinions. During an interview with Ishimaru, one of the North Korean reporters appealed directly for food aid, regardless of where it goes, even to the military, because the net result is a decrease in food prices overall. I want those who see these pictures to understand the most pressing problem in North Korea, which is the lack of food, and hope they show support for an increase of food aid. Even if food is diverted or sold illegally by those with power, whenever there is a large amount of food coming in, its market price naturally drops. So the more aid we get, the more we're thankful for it. I mean, this is the direct result of embargoes and sanctions against them as well, right? They are limited in what they are able to bring in and import, and that is directly the result of the blockade. So that's why when we see the United States trying to negotiate with Kim Jong-un, and he's like, are you going to lift the blockade against us? No, then we're not getting rid of our nuclear weapons. Like, I don't know what to tell you. This is wild. And it's completely true. So Susie Kim says, clearly North Koreans have a diverse set of opinions, like people everywhere else. But rather than showing the wide array of perspectives, Rim Jin Gang attempts to present a uniform and unified view. In doing so, serious problems of interpretation surface throughout the magazine. A very good example is the chapter made up of images of Pyongyang, photos taken by North Korean informants. The commentary and captions on the photos are authored by Ishimaru. The caption for a photo of two women squatting on the ground with various wares possibly for sale reads, "Selling at the market is fun." And the footnote says, it appears they are relaxed and smiling as they conduct business. It must be exciting for them to be running a business of their own. This is crazy that this is the caption on something that is supposedly journalistic. Like, you have just assumed a whole narrative about these women and published it as a caption. That's crazy. And this is the kind of slop people are looking at, being like, yes, they love it. Another footnote of an image of a smiling woman says, her smile is a sign that what she sells is quite an interesting item. Like, what? This is wild that people are using this as a source at all. So all these photos have weird commentary. Susie Kim says, another one says, despite their harsh conditions, they happily go on making a living through commerce. The only way to survive in this strictly controlled authoritarian city. Don't worry, guys. Capitalism is saving them from Kim Jong-un. That's literally what this caption is supposed to tell us. The harder they work, the more their profits grow. And making this living through sales is the only chance they have to gain wealth. It's literally capitalist propaganda that they are making up. It is wild. Is Destroyer back talking about age of consent being 16? All right, I'm done with this guy. I'm done. He's getting banned. Sorry. Creepy. I have banned the pervert. They're always freaks. That's why. They're like, I'm not like a regular Republican. I like to smoke weed and sexualize teenagers. And you're like, I regret to inform you, you are like a regular Republican. So weird. Okay, he's gone. He's out of there. Everybody who voted to ban him, you've been redeemed. Yeah, no, he's weird. Pedocon theory undefeated. So true. All right, so this is a critique of Rim Jin Gang, basically. Susie Kim is like, there's nothing journalistic about this. This is just capitalist propaganda that this guy invented. These are not actual journalists. So here... She also talks about an NYU presentation she went to where Ishimaru was presenting about Rim Jin Gang and says during the presentation, Ishimaru intensified the impact of the print media by showing video footage recorded in North Korea. And a lot of people think you can't record things in North Korea. You can. Lots of people record things in North Korea. You can see them on the internet. You can see them on Red Note a lot. People record things. It's not a big deal. You just can't record the military, but I feel like try to record the cops here and see what happens. So the military, you understand, right? Posture check. Thank you, Rob. So a memorable scene showed people being loaded onto a truck, and Ishimaru said this was a police vehicle being used to ferry people to the market when a middle-aged woman got into an altercation with a police officer at the scene. The woman talked back very aggressively and said, "Who do you think you are?" shoving the officer in uniform. The scene is captured by a still image reproduced in the magazine with the following caption. A truck driver and his female partner fiercely protest the bribes demanded by policemen. The image speaks to the people's open backlash against authority and the weakening of the Kim Jong-il administration. Back in the day, right? Ishimaru interprets the episode as a sign that people were learning to speak out, using the market economy to feed themselves, no longer dependent on the ration system. But why, Susie Kim says, assume that a woman shoving a police officer in uniform is evidence of a recent breakdown of authority? Do we know that this kind of interaction in North Korea was not possible in earlier decades? In South Korea, for example, it's quite common to see older women and men chiding and talking back to police officers as they would talk to their own children, because many of them are indeed young men, fresh out of school. Even if the interpretation of the scene is coming from the North Korean informant, it is common knowledge that the native perspective does not have privileged access to the truth. And I really like that Susie Kim says this. The native perspective does not have privileged access to the truth. Just being from a place doesn't mean you are uniquely equipped to understand the truth. Right? So I think that's good. She says, indeed, the fallacy of a project like Rim Jung Gang lies in believing that it is a better grasp of what is going on inside North Korea because the information is coming from within. The magazine opens with a statement, no one can report on a nation better than its own people. But this is not self-evidently true, as one might presume. Some of the most common East Asian proverbs instruct how a frog in a well knows little about how to place itself in the larger context, and it is undeniably the darkest just under the lamp where its own shadow is cast. So this is a really great breakdown of this, about how Rim Jung Gang is... And Susie Kim, again, is an academic who's dedicated her life to the study of North Korea. She is of Korean descent. She is a professor at Rutgers of Korean history. She has published many academic texts about North Korea. And she's like, this thing is basically bullshit. They are editorializing. They are making a bunch of stuff up. And it should not be trusted. She also says that this guy, the man from Japan who's publishing this, is basically... using this idea called the sick man of Asia, right? Which is a trope as well, worth discussing. So, at the time, she also was working at a human rights group as the international secretary in Seoul, but then later completed the PhD in history at the University of Chicago. Okay, so, and for all the libs out there, she also did human rights advocacy work as the Korea country specialist for Amnesty International USA. So I don't like Amnesty International, but she worked there. Right? So there you go. This is that citation. So this is what Danny is citing, right? Danny's not citing academics. Danny is citing a random man from Japan who published a fanzine where he made up captions for all of the images that were basically like, I love capitalism. Absolutely wild. Yeah, we need a Susie Kim emote. We love Susie Kim in this house. So it's very, very wild. So then the Diplomat publishes a wide range of content about North Korea. I have found some good content on here and some bad content in here. This is largely pretty harmless, honestly. AP, same thing. It's just a news source. Reuters, they've got some slop content. They've got some stuff that's on. Yonhap News Agency should not be on here. This is a South Korean news agency. They are also legally prohibited from saying anything positive about the North. They are literally a South Korean news agency. So the fact that this is in here is absolutely bonkers. That's not... They're legally prohibited from telling you the truth. They cannot give you a perspective other than North Korea bad. BBC, whatever. They say some stuff that's good. They say some stuff that's bad, whatever. New York Times, Washington Post, same. It depends on the reporter, right? It depends on the reporter and the editor at the time. So then we get into KCNA Watch. KCNA Watch is actually put together by NK News. It's managed by NK News. You can see it up here. And it's supposed to be... like a search engine for, NK News. It's supposed to be a search engine of North Korean state media. They have actually been caught deleting things, though. There was some controversy with them where NK News, KCNA Watch caught removing media. So they're not actually reporting everything. They have been caught... Oh, God, where is it? Here we go. They have been caught deleting things and then later had to restore them when they were caught. So, and this is by another slop contenter, 38 North. The girls are fighting. Your girls are fighting. So they do this. They editorialize. So they don't even show you a full thing. But KCNA is fine. It's not great. It's not as horrible. 38 North, again, we already talked about that. 38 North is a project of the Stimson Center that is funded by the State Department. Now we get to human rights organizations. This is where it gets really interesting. Liberty in North Korea is actually the association that Charles North Korea is affiliated with. The AP seems to be super biased and incorrect when it comes to North Korea. They are mostly reputable for other topics. Yeah, Silky Road. Yeah, they publish some weird bullshit sometimes, for sure. No source is unbiased. That's true. Okay. Profi Professor, what is the point here? Does anyone think North Korea is a country where we have a functional capitalist system? It is like worse as Germany in some reports you get from the camps there. They have a well-working dictatorship running wild against human rights. What are we talking about here? Okay, so you're new here, so that's okay. So they don't have a capitalist system. They have a specific type of socialist system based on Marxist-Leninism that's been adapted to the North Korean conditions called Judaism. It's not a dictatorship. So basically what we're encountering is that most Americans don't understand anything about North Korea, and the reason is because a specific network exists of U.S. government-funded and South Korean government-funded disinformation groups that all work with each other to tell you lies about North Korea. So the reason you think North Korea has a dictatorship, for example, is because these places tell you it's a dictatorship. In reality, they have a collective leadership. They have 3 different branches of their government. Kim Jong-un's not even in charge of their executive branch. His grandfather was. Kim Il-sung was in charge of their executive branch. He was the first premier of North Korea, the first leader. But Kim Jong-il and Kim Jong-un haven't had that title. They both are basically the head of the State Department, and they happen to be the head of the largest party there. So the current head of their executive branch, here Donald Trump's the head of our executive branch, the current head of their executive branch is actually a man in Pak Dae-sung currently. People don't talk about that, right? So just, and this idea that, you know, they have camps there, they have this, all of this stems from this propaganda network. So the idea that they have camps, it's like, well, we say that they just have regular prisons. By the United States' own estimates, additionally, the percent of their population that's in prison is less than the percent of the American population that's in prison. So what we're talking about really is we're deconstructing the nature of these propaganda networks, the disinfo slop that just gets spread about North Korea. Westerners will believe any bullshit in the world if you say it happened in North Korea. They'll just, no critical thinking. They're like, yep, that happened, sure. So to really understand that the info you consume as somebody with access to Western media is not all created equal. And you need to do your due diligence to understand the motivations behind every source for information you are reading and where it comes from. So that's kind of what's important to understand. So now, when we look at Liberty in North Korea, which is the other thing on this person's resource list, Liberty in North Korea is wild. So they are affiliated with, yes, Charles North Korea, this Charles North Korea. I blocked him. I'm so smart for that. And he is, yes, the one who is wanted in Spain. I'll translate this to English. He is wanted in Spain. This is him, Charles Ryu, on social media. He is affiliated with the organization Link, Liberty in North Korea. That is this organization here that is on Danny's recommended list. Because a group attacked the North Korean embassy in Spain. They remained inside the embassy for more than 4 hours, and they tortured and detained staff members until the staff members were able to escape. So Charles North Korea is wanted in conjunction with this attack. All right? A mad scene. You always think of this the defector testimony, even if they're being honest. We cannot understand a complex and diverse event or system through one person experience with no contextual knowledge. It would be like someone who only knew about World War II from one biography of a person in rural France trying to explain the entire war and what people's experiences were or why. Yes, we need academics to contextualize things. Yes, exactly. Also, part of the propaganda network is paying a lot of people to tell sensational stories about North Korea. That's why when you're starting to learn about North Korea, the first thing people will tell you to watch is Loyal Citizens of Pyongyang. It's not because that's the only source, but that's because that source is people from North Korea who have not been living in North Korea for years talking about how they were pressured to tell sensational fake stories about the North and how their friends did it, how they refused, and how that kind of complex works. They're also talking to an attorney out of South Korea about these issues. So yeah, America has an insane amount of people in prison. For us to be talking about prison camps, labor camps, anywhere else on the planet is just so deranged. So that guy is affiliated with Liberty North Korea. The terrorist attack guy, Charles North Korea, which is wild. So if you see that guy's content, feel free to spam him, like what happened in Spain, because that's weird. And also on top of that, Liberty North Korea is a partner of the National Endowment for Democracy. Okay? It's here. They call themselves a partner. They say the group, a partner of National Endowment for Democracy. National Endowment for Democracy says Link is their partner. And who is National Endowment for Democracy? That is a conduit of the CIA per their own admission, per their founder, Alan Weinstein, in this article. Okay. And it again receives its funding from U.S. Congress. So Danny is telling you, go check out Liberty in North Korea link. Yeah, that is a group affiliated with the National Endowment for Democracy, started by the CIA, that is funded from Congress and affiliated with a social media personality, an influencer who is wanted in conjunction with a terrorist attack on an embassy in Spain where North Korean people were held and tortured until they fled. So that's what's going on there. This is absolutely bonkers to recommend this as a source to anything. Similarly, HRNK. This is a very popular website where people get this disinfo slop content. HRNK. They also are the creators of the Hidden Gulag, which we'll get into in a second. HRNK, that was initially started by Chuck Downs from the Pentagon. All right. So that's in this article. You can see all about that. Chuck Downs. He started this HRNK from the Pentagon. The current president is this guy, Greg Scarlatow, who came directly from Radio Free Asia. Here we go. 3 years experience also with KEI in Washington, D.C. All right. Radio Free Asia, of course, we all know, was created by the CIA in 1951 to spread misinformation about communists in Asia, and still is funded to this day 100% by Congress. This is an updated congressional funding allocation. Please load. Redirecting us. Hold, please. It's mad at us. This one is from January 27th. This is from yesterday, about Congress funding Radio Free Asia. And they are part of the U.S. Agency for Global Media. Here, an official website of the U.S. government. Their entities include RFA, Radio Free Asia. So, this group over here, they're telling you to look at... Freaking Danny. Oh, so annoying. This HRNK, that's all affiliated with that. That is where we are getting this from. Okay, so that is also something that should not be trusted. And, as if that weren't enough, here they are on LinkedIn begging for money because they lost their U.S. government funding in 2023. They were like fully government funded. Almost 60% of their funding in 2023 came from the federal government. So that's what's going on with them. They are federally funded as well by the U.S. government. This is, again, who Danny is telling you is a human rights organization you should trust. It's the U.S. government. So I just want to go back through this again. NK News, U.S. government funded. 38 North, U.S. government funded. Rimjin Gang, they actually did work in conjunction with, what is the U.S. Army thing? I should add this in here. The Fulbright Scholarship. They did have a thing with the Fulbright Scholarship, which is also the U.S. military as well. So I'll have to add that into my research document. But at the very least, considered not credible by academics. Diplomat, AP, Reuters, random news agency. They'll tell you all sorts of things. That's fine. Yonhap News Agency, South Korea, not legally allowed to say anything but negative things about North Korea. Some more random news sources. Okay, fine. More NK News, 38 North again. Government funded, government funded. Liberty in North Korea, government funded. Human rights in North Korea, government funded. Let's take a look at Crossing Borders. We'll see about this one. They're talking about Songbun. That's not real, so we know this is some bullshit. Who are they? I've never checked out these ones before, so this will be a real-time checkout. Christians of Korea. So the co-founder, Mike Kim, Mike and Dan. Mike Kim. This is very interesting. So we've never heard of this one. Crossing Borders funding. Let's take a look together. Hold please while I search. We're looking. There's a lot of orgs called Crossing Borders also. A lot of these places have like real slop content names, which is super annoying. It's really hard to like find them and track them down. We're researching this one live. I found their financial report, but it doesn't say where their money came from. So we're trying to figure that out. Sorry. I just want to do this in real time. They're very Christian, which is interesting. So far, we found that they're affiliated with the Nautilus Institute, which is actually pretty common for these types of orgs. So we have them, the Nautilus Institute being cited in this now gone Crossing Borders report that's no longer there. We have their revenue here. We're not exactly able to see where this revenue comes from. They're not forthcoming about it. But this would be interesting for us to do a deep dive to try to figure this out. They say the majority... Oh... Let's see. They say the majority of their funding comes through online donations via its website. They say all of their funding comes from individual donors and private foundations from the U.S. But we don't know what private foundations they are. Like, National Endowment for Democracy could be funding things as a private foundation, you know, because it's an NGO. And that's really the point of the NGOs, right? So this is stuff that, I would like to look into this one more because this one I'm not as familiar with. But as for the rest of them, we'll jump back in. We'll see what the rest of them have going on. Amnesty International, we definitely know about this one. Amnesty International's report here, when we look at this, they cite directly Radio Free Asia on this report a number of times. There's one source for it. They also cite Daily NK. There it is. They cite NK News. That's there too. All of these things that are government funded. So Amnesty International is citing U.S. government funded propaganda networks. And one of the things I think is interesting is I'm always like, okay, so you think that I, Madeline Pendleton, was able to find out that these are U.S. government funded propaganda networks and Amnesty International wasn't able to find that out? Come on, they know. They know they're citing U.S. government funded propaganda networks. So you start to ask what their intentions are, what their motives are in doing that. Why? Why are they doing this? They must know that it's propaganda. The other thing people always cite is the UN OHCHR report. The one they're actually citing is this one from 2014. Everything comes back to that. They make new reports based off of it, but they are always coming back to this specific original UN OHCHR report here from February 7th, 2014. And this one similarly is also, helps if I spell it right, citing Radio Free Asia multiple times. This is 3 times it turns out. Let's see, NK News, citing NK News, citing Daily NK 12 times. I bet they probably also cite 38 North if I look, but let's see. They cite 38 North. They're citing all the same thing. So you start to see this is a network of disinformation, and they are all feeding into each other. So citing these things that are also just citing, yes, U.S. government propaganda. And again, we ask, do you think that I, Madeline Pendleton, am smarter than the entire staff of the UN OHCHR? Come on. They know they're citing American government propaganda. They know they are. So the question becomes, what's their motivation in doing that? And it's worth noting, the UN had an active role in destabilizing the Korean Peninsula. The UN helped the United States divide the Korean Peninsula in half and enact terror upon the people of Korea following the end of World War II. They have a bias. They have a reason that they're participating in this as well. So, there's also some think tanks with random stuff. Whatever. They're hit or miss. It's fine. Then we have these books. Now, The Girl with the Seven Names, all of these books, by the way, these are all paid stories. These are all people who are paid to tell sensational stories about North Korea. And we know a lot of these are not super reliable. So, for example, we get into The Girl with Seven Names. That's Hyun-Soo Lee, right? I'm pretty sure Hyun-Soo Lee actually works with the National Endowment for Democracy, if I remember correctly. It might be somebody else. Yes, she does. So she works with the National Endowment for Democracy, this woman. And people will tell you sometimes, watch Beyond Utopia. These things are not reliable. And we have a quote here from, I think if I remember correctly, yes, Hyun-Soo Lee, here we go. Who I think is the person who said, they quote, Liberty in North Korea is also working in conjunction with them. This is from the State Department as well. There was something about a NED grant being like a lifetime allowance or something like that. I wonder if this was her. I seem to remember this. No, this isn't it. I'm trying to find this Hyun-Soo Lee grant. So this whole paid defector network, basically when they talk about this in Loyal Citizens of Pyongyang too, the thing you really, really want to get is a book deal, is a National Endowment for Democracy deal, right? And that I think is really the thing that people don't understand. Okay, so here we have this article in particular that talks about how one of the jobs you can get is basically as a professional North Korean defector. So they talk about Lee Hyun-Soo 2013 TED Talk, and that received over 11 million views. And then from there, you get a book deal that comes out, right? And these things basically give you public status. And this is what these people are participating in. Now, it might not have been her, the author of this book in particular, but it's another person who was affiliated with this group who basically said, yeah, if you can get a NED grant, that's like a lifelong allowance for you to just live. And you get your basically life is paid for by NED every single year if you just do this as your job. And that's like really hitting the jackpot. That's what they're aiming for, basically. This is a job to them. And I think that's important to note. And there's a reason why this kind of stuff is not considered of journalistic integrity, right, by actual researchers. Like, you couldn't use this in a professional or academic setting. This is from, very, very obviously, like, what's identifying propaganda, satire, and false information. Consider the source. Check the author, right? Ask the experts. All of these things are going to tell you that anybody paid to tell their story is going to be not correct, right? That is not going to be reliable. So that's what's going on here, and that's what these people are doing. So including these basically novelized accounts is not good to do. And lots of people will talk to you about Camp 14 also. That guy literally, his book author had to debunk him, and they had to remove a lot of stuff from his book. So that's what's going on. This is Danny's. Oh, I don't recommend this one. This is one I do not recommend at all. So this is Danny's bullshit resource list that should be shamed. That is just a American slot propaganda thing. The only one I wasn't familiar with before, again, was this, what is it, Crossing Borders. So that's what I'm going to have to look at. I'll probably add a link to my resource sheet when I look into it a little bit more to see what's going on with that. But yeah, all of these just books. This is just literal tabloid kind of trash kind of content. This is not these are not actual books that anybody should really care about that much. And we can look at them. Nothing to envy. It's all Amazon, of course. Barbara Demick. Barbara Demick's actually affiliated with the U.S. State Department. So Barbara Demick is affiliated with the U.S. State Department. You'll find her in conjunction with State Department things all the time. She's all over this. So to recommend her book, first and foremost, again, this is just a book of State Department assets or a list. And honestly, it's kind of amazing Danny put this together because it's like a shortcut list of the network of exactly this one group that comes together to spread this info slop. So it's actually kind of cool because you're like, oh, it's all the Fed shit in one place, which is hilarious. There's also Suki Kim. People confuse Susie Kim with Suki Kim. They're totally different people, and Suki Kim is also affiliated with the Ned kind of circuit and Ned Grant circuit. Let's see what other books they have. Anna Fifield I'm not familiar with. But these aren't academic texts. These aren't academic sources in any capacity, right? These are literally people talking about their personal lives, their personal stories, and they are really not reliable. They are not reliable at all. And most of these people, when you look them up, you'll find they live in South Korea, which means, again, they're not able to say anything about the North. So, see, here we go. This person, they're even saying he found God. They're all also super weirdly Christian. And now advocates for human rights in North Korea, but he lives in South Korea. So these people in South Korea, again, they can't say anything positive about the North. Now, so other literature, UN Human Rights Council, she actually already linked to this. She just doesn't realize she already linked to this. Hidden Gulag, that is literally link. Or no, it's HRNK, sorry, Human Rights North Korea. It's the same group we already talked about that she also already linked to. So I'm not sure why she's doing it twice, but okay. This stuff is all, okay, let's see what this one is. Project Reveal. Oh, this is the fucking phone thing. Jesus fucking Christ. The phone. Do you guys remember the BBC phone thing? The BBC phone thing is wild. They're like, we got a phone. Let's talk about it. And they want to tell you things like the phone takes pictures of your activity and reports them to the government. I'm sorry, like Apple turns over phone data to the federal government. Like, this whole idea that like the government monitors your phone. Yeah, that happens here too. Like, what does that mean? Apple gave up user data in 82% of Fed's requests. And the whole scary thing that we're supposed to believe about this weird phone situation is that it's scary because what? The North Korean government can see your phone records? Yeah, I'm going to save this one to look up later. The U.S. government can see your phone records. Like, what is this? This is so weird. Very, very strange shit on there. So this phone records thing is fucking stupid. What else do we have here? More of this HRNK reports. She's linked HRNK 3 times on here, which is funny. HRNK a 4th time on here. It's all just the same shit. Oh, a 5th time HRNK, a 6th time, a 7th time, an 8th time. This isn't other literature. This is the same one thing she cited over and over and over again. HRNK, HRNK, HRNK. And remember, HRNK is, again, created by a guy from the Pentagon and currently led from a guy who came from a CIA propaganda wing about communism in Asia. And they got nearly 60% of their total funding from the U.S. government in 2023. Absolutely bonkers. So other interesting articles, GQ, NK News, again. And when we look at these articles, they're all goofy. Like an article interviewing Kim Jong-il's former sushi chef. Like what? North Korean horrors as found by one defector's drawings. They're part of the same complicated thing. This is just like slop. So let's see what they've got going on here. Okay. Kim Kwang-il, who lives in South Korea. They all live in South Korea also. That's the other thing. They all live in South Korea. They're legally not allowed to say anything positive about the North. The phone of a government worker. You work for a government in the UK and they monitor your entire life. Yeah, exactly. Using drawings as evidence. And again, they're in South Korea. They legally... Oh, and it came from Amnesty International. So you see, they all just cite each other over and over and over again. That needs a subscription. That one we talked about. But, like, let's talk about those. Are there any sources in this? Just missile testing is the only thing. Sourcing. They're literally citing the CIA. They're interviewing a guy who's like, I worked at the CIA and here's what I think about North Korea. Absolutely bonkers. Talking about the generations of families, a selective history. Okay. Like, where are our sources? We've got a Vanity Fair profile. That's the first source I've ever seen linked besides the literal CIA guy. And this guy's literally, he's saying, I am an intelligence analyst. This is a government guy. That's who this guy is. This guy is a U.S. intelligence guy, like CIA shit, which is absolutely wild. It's like, oh, here we go. It's a chick. Chicks can be CIA too. My bad. So Jung H. Pak is who this is. Oh. She has held senior positions at the CIA. This is literally the CIA, this article. This is like, and this is what I'm talking about. This is so wild. So you look at this and you're just like, government. And it's over and over again. Look, 38 North again. It's just crazy. 38 North again. 38 North again. NK News. Like, it's just over and over and over again. So this resource document is absolutely insane. It is unhinged. I wish I could go through and make a copy of it. Maybe I should. And just write next to everything exactly what's going on with it. Because it's bonkers. It's super, super fucking bonkers that this is the content and this is the person who's getting hundreds of thousands of views telling you all these things we definitely know about North Korea, right? And people believe it. And this is what we mean. We're like, this is prol slop. This is prop slop. It's prol slop. It's wild. So this is this chick, Danny, North Korea, who has a whole social media account that's absolutely unhinged, positioning themselves as an expert on North Korea. And this is it. And they post these videos about me all the time, trying to claim I'm making shit up or whatever, debunking things. They're never able to actually debunk anything, though. And everything they talk about is quite literally coming from the U.S. government. I don't know if they're being paid. So when I first joined TikTok, this is literally one of the first accounts I stumbled across where I was like, is this person actually a Fed? Like, I think I found a Fed account for the first time ever. She is intentionally manufacturing consent. Exactly. It seems like Crossing Borders doesn't have to disclose its donors because it's incorporated as a church. This is what is interesting to me. But literally, it's like, okay, NK News, like, we can literally go through each and every one of these and write next to it what the funding sources are, right? So NK News, this is the State Department. So we could literally go. I'll show you guys. And it's like funded by State Department, right? Okay, so NK News, we can look for everywhere NK News is cited. And like, we should put it in bold and put it in red. And like, this is what's going on with this person's supposed expert opinions on this. And this is what we mean when we're like, most people don't know how propagandized they are. And it like gets to me because I don't know how to communicate this in a way that makes the average person understand. Screen. Screen. It's just wild. Like, I don't, like, how do you let people know this? This is funded by the Defense Department, right? 38 North funded. Oops. And we know this. 38 North. And it's like, when you really start doing this, you see, oh, this is also KCNA Watch is NK News. What sources do we really have left when we remove everything that's funded by the U.S. government or cite something from the U.S. government, right? And that's really the question when we look at this. It's very, very disturbing. So these are just random. This is... and then what else? This one is funded by Congress. We'll say receives congressional funding. Well, funded by Congress, it is. What was HRNK? How were they funded again? Oh, yeah. Funded by Congress. Amnesty International. And what looks like an entire resource document, you like start to see really, really fast, falls apart, right? It totally falls apart. It's just all the same source over and over and over again. And it's South Korean government, US government. And we see they're the political enemies, right? Of North Korea. So Human Rights North Korea, funded by Congress. Again, let's get into that. Oop. I really want to go through and do this for all of them and then just post an image. And it's like when Danny North Korea talks, you can just like take a screenshot of this and post it on her page and be like, these are your sources. This is like what you're up to, you know? Amnesty International is not trustworthy. No. In fact, ooh. Oh, this is the thing. Now I have to choose between the light and the microphone because I can't have both because I only have one plug-in. But we can do microphone. Microphone seems a little more important. So, yeah, I yell at them sometimes when I see them out, and I really need to get better at it, but it's like a gut reaction. They cite the CIA. They're out here spreading misinformation about countries that are American political enemies, you know, and it's not okay. So I'm going to put this together, and I'm going to go through and put all these notes in here, and I will share it maybe on my Linktree or something like that. So you guys have an image that you can share, and you can really just, big time out or ban for Profi Professor. What's up? Okay, I'll do that. I can do that. I'll do ban. We don't have time for that. All right. So, oh my God, I lost the chat now. All right, well, it's 11:11 anyway. So I'm gonna have to go to my Twitch to see the chat right now because I just accidentally closed it. So hold on 1 second. I'm in Stream Manager. Stream Manager looks so wild when you're actually in here. My chat. Okay. So, all right. I feel like this is my sign to be done with today's stream. It's been a long one. Thanks for sticking around with it, guys. I won't be able to do a raid also because I don't have access to full controls because everything's dying because that's what happens when you go over 2 hours. Everything dies. I won't be able to do a raid. I'm so sorry. You just got here, Shelby Hive. I'm so sorry. We did a whole North Korea thing. But we'll do more tomorrow, and I'll try to go through this thing really fast when I'm done here and add all of it so you can see, like, it looks like these people have a lot of different sources, but they don't. It's one source, two if you count the South Korean government as something separate to us. So yeah, thank you all for everything, and I'll see you here tomorrow. We won't be here on Friday, though, because of the strike, General Strike Friday. All right, bye.